My name is Dr. Greg Hudnall, and I'm the founder of Hope Squad. We're excited to have Nate here, and Abby's actually going to introduce him. This is our monthly webinar, and it's a focus on not only strengthening the Hope Squad program, but how we can ourselves be helped through these difficult times with COVID and other challenges. So thank you for being with us, and I'm going to turn the time over to Abby to introduce our great speaker.
Thank you, Greg, and thank you, Nate, for being here today. I'm very happy and excited to welcome Mr. Nate Woods as our featured speaker. He is a professor and human services director at Grays Harbor College, and he keynotes major leadership and sales meetings around the world. Nate's new book, Developing Others Through Service, Starting With Me, was released in August of 2020, and he is the managing partner and co-founder of DOT Service LLC, a leadership development firm located in Montesano, Washington. Some of his most recent clients include Southeastern University, Grays Harbor College, and Contaminated Cleaning Services. Prior to becoming an authority on self-discipline, teamwork, and leading and managing change and peak performance, Nate was introduced to many of these principles of high performance while operating his family-owned business. So I'm going to turn the time over to Mr. Nate Woods, and please join me in giving him a warm welcome.
Well, thank you so very much, Abby, and thank you so very much, Greg. I appreciate the opportunity. I don't want to waste any time, so let's jump right into it. And so if you would bear with me, I am a professor, and so I've shared my screen many a times, but the fear is when you do it now, that's when it tends to act weird on you. And so I want to make sure that you can see my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah,
excellent.
Great.
All right, excellent, excellent, excellent. Let me do this. I am going to try this one more time. Here we go. Okay, so I want to just start off by saying first, thank you again. I want to say thank you, Dr. Hudnall and Hope Squad for the opportunity to speak. Also, I want to just thank Dr. Ginsberg. Dr. Ginsberg is a pediatrician, and he's also Dr. Jensen is also a human development expert in the UK as it relates to children and development of children and helping children to understand what resilience is. And so the basis of what I'm presenting is some of the research done by Dr. Ginsberg, and I put my own twist on it. Why? Because I am also a doctoral student, and I'm working on some research myself, and a lot of the research that I'm working on toward a leader's corporate social responsibility and ensuring that their team has a great mental health and taking care of themselves from a mental aspect. That is wrapped up in some of Dr. Ginsberg's research. So I want to go ahead and give the credit up front to Dr. Ginsberg for the foundational piece of this presentation, as I will continue to elaborate on it. All right. I think that there's something here when it comes to resilience in these 7 interrelated components, and we're going to get there, but I have to just do a quick introduction. Abby gave me a great introduction. I appreciate you, Abby, but I am a Hope Squad advisor. So we have Hope Squad right here at Grays Harbor College. If you represent Grays Harbor and you're on the call, please put something in the chat, represent. And then I'm also a professor at Grays Harbor College, and my book, like Abby just said, just came out, and you can definitely look that information up on Amazon if you're interested in making a purchase. What is resilience? Resilience is a set of skills, attitude, behaviors, and coping mechanisms that allow individuals to recover and adapt when faced with stress, challenges, or adversity. I want to be very clear. We tend to use the term when you're resilient or someone's resilient, they do this thing where they bounce back. But let me be very clear that the definition in the Oxford Dictionary does not speak to resilience as in bouncing back from a human aspect, that's when it comes to substances or objects that can be formed and it can go back to its original form. That's not human. That is not the character of a human being. Once we are influenced by something or we impacted by something, we're forever changed. That doesn't mean that we're going to continue to be bad or we're going to continue to be good. It just means that we're forever changed. We're no longer what we were before the interaction. However, we have the ability to recover and adapt. And that's the part we're going to talk about. And that's a mindset. I'm excited to be here. Now we're about to jump into the 7 C's. Here we go. And this is probably my favorite part. And this is a foundational pillar as it relates to the 7 C's, and that's competence. And I put this competency matrix up here so that you can kind of get an idea. I'm a professor, I'm a teacher, I'm a researcher. I just want you to get this idea of what competency is. We think it's just knowing information, but it's more than that, because it's a process of knowing information. And I want to use this as an example. Excuse me. Unconscious incompetence is when I don't know what I don't know. When my wife and I lived in Florida, we never knew Aberdeen, Washington existed. I didn't know what an Aberdeen, Washington was. I didn't know it existed. I didn't know it was on the planet at all. I was just oblivious to it, right? But when my wife ended up applying for jobs and she ended up getting a phone call from Aberdeen or from Grace Harbor College, then we were able to move to the conscious incompetence. So I know that I don't know. So we realized that now we know that there's an Aberdeen, Washington, but I don't know anything about it. And so as we continue to work down this matrix and we work our way down, we see conscious competence is I know that I'm good at this and I have an understanding, but I have to be intentional about doing it at my best. And this is as it relates to my wife and I moving to Washington and not knowing anything about Aberdeen and then learning about Aberdeen. But in this particular place, conscious competence, we've moved to Washington. We bought a house in Aberdeen. We teach or work in Aberdeen, Washington. So we're familiar with Aberdeen now. That's where we are now. We're familiar with Aberdeen. But if you go to unconscious competence, I'm not quite there yet because I'm just familiar with Aberdeen. I don't know much about Aberdeen, Washington. When locals are talking about things that happened in the past and they're calling out the Bluff and all of these different areas, I'm not familiar with it because I don't have enough history. I haven't been here long enough to really engage enough to know that where I'm an expert in Aberdeen, Washington. Let me make this make sense. When you're born in this particular area, children lay down and they cry. They don't know how to walk, don't think anything of walking, it's not in their mind. They don't know how to walk. But all of a sudden, children start to crawl or scoot, and then parents, loved ones, stand them up, and then they fall. Stand them up and they fall when we get to this conscious incompetence. They stand up and they fall. Even if they don't know, they realize that there's something greater than crawling that I can do. And as we're developing them, we get to this conscious competence. And this is where a child stands up and the parents go bonkers because this child is able to take able to take steps. And they may take 10 or 15 steps, but it's intentional. They have to really think about it. The child concentrates on it to take these steps. But when we get to unconscious competence, this is what many of us are at this place right now in our lives where we wake up in the morning and we get up and we walk to the bathroom and take care of our hygiene or whatever, but we don't think about walking. We just do it. We're an expert as it relates to walking because I can now do it without concentrating on it. I put my energy somewhere else. The struggle here, though, is that too often what we find ourselves in, where people get this information, they run and get knowledge, a bunch of information, knowledge without application. And when that happens, then we find ourselves stuck in a place where motion isn't progress, where I'm getting a lot of information, but I don't know how to apply it. I know some of the right things to do, but I don't know how to apply it to my life. I get what you're saying. I should take care of myself and I should do this self-care and I should get community, but I don't know how to go do it. And the missing component when we talk about competency a lot is we miss teachers. The missing component is a teacher, a mentor, or someone that can help us move forward in this particular area. I showed you the screen and I flashed back. I did that on purpose. That was not an accident. Now, I'm going to show you the value of an instructor. I'm going to show you the value of a coach. I'm going to show you the value of a mentor. And the way that it works is on this next slide, there's a series of numbers that are scrambled on this screen that you're about to see. I want you to pay very close attention and I want you to do this activity. The activity is you lock your eyes on the number and then you mentally circle it. And then you move to the next number, you lock your eyes on it and you mentally circle it. I want you to see how many numbers, or what's the highest number you can get to by identifying these numbers in sequential order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do not cheat and try to mentally circle the entire sheet and say, I did it. That doesn't work that way. Sequential order. I want to show you the power of coaching, mentorship, and teaching as it relates to competence and resilience. You have 15 seconds to get the highest amount that you can. Go. Oh, pause. I had to move the screen back. 15 seconds is all you get. If you would please go into the chat and just let us know what number did you get to? What's the highest number you got to that you was able to mentally circle following this sequential pattern, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so forth, up to 100. Go ahead and throw it in there. Abby, you can unmute yourself right now. And could you start calling out some of these numbers that we have? What are some of the numbers that we have?
It looks like a lot of 9s, 8s. The highest I've seen so far is 12.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Impressive.
Ooh, let's
yeah,
give it
10.
another. Okay.
I've got another 12.
Yeah.
A lot of 7s.
It's difficult. That's a difficult exercise.
43.
My goodness.
Whoa.
My goodness. The highest I've ever seen was 52. So the one that the person that had 43, if you would just reach out to Abby, get your information, I will send you a free autographed copy of my book to you for doing this exercise. Now that's not what this is about. This is about learning. So I'm going to show you what the coaching piece is. This is the value of an instructor and a coach. Okay, so we're about to look at the same exercise and I'm going to coach you through this so that you can do better. I'm going to coach you so you can do better. Here we go. So this is me coaching. When I designed this, when I was building out a training for John Maxwell and his team, this was the thing that I did. I scrambled these numbers and I threw this matrix in there to set it up in quadrants. And this is the first quadrant, second, third, and fourth. And if you follow that pattern, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, you will get more numbers circled in a faster time. You get more numbers circled in the same amount of time. Let me show you what I mean. Number 1, circled. Number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and it continues to work like this in this sequential order. Now, the next part of this exercise is for you. We're going to start again. We're going to go back. We get 15 seconds again, and let's see if you improve after I've taken 40 seconds or 30 seconds to coach you. Are you ready? If you are ready, I'm going to put the quadrants up. You get 15 seconds. Let's see if you experience an improvement. Let's go. All right, time. Okay, stop. If you've seen an improvement or you were able to experience an improvement in your outcome of your performance or your ability to see life differently, that's really what we're getting at when we talk about resilience. Put it in the chat. Throw it in the chat. If you were able to see an increase, if you were able to produce at a greater rate, put it in the chat. All righty. Sometimes there's an anomaly where someone does not see an improvement, but that's a part of the anomaly piece, right? That's a part of development. However, what coaching does and teaching and facilitation does is it gets you to a place where you are being developed and you have a better understanding of the act that you're doing. As it pertains to resilience, is the more competent we are about ourselves and the way we see life, then the better we can address life head on. Let me tell you what confidence does as it pertains to resilience. And this is the second C, confidence. But I'm not going to talk about confidence in the sense that we need to have our chest up and our head held high. I'm not going to talk to you about confidence like that. I'm going to speak to you from the sense that resilience is what it is and what it is not, to help you get a better understanding of what it is, so you can be more confident in the fact that you have the ability to be more resilient in life. Resilience is not something you're born with. This it's not a quick fix. It's not this idea that you're absent from pain and hardship and struggle. That's not what resilience is. Resilience is a skill set and it's a mindset as you approach things that may be hard, difficult in your life. And it is something that you can practice, and you can learn, and you can be taught. That's why I showed you the competency piece first. It's something that you can learn and you can be taught. Let me move a little bit forward. There's a story about two bricklayers. That I want to share with you. This journalist comes up to interview the first bricklayer, and she asks the bricklayer, she says, "Bricklayer number one, what is it that you're doing?" The bricklayer says, I'm glad you asked. I'm laying bricks. Isn't it obvious?" The second bricklayer jumps right in to answer the same question after the journalist says, "What are you doing, bricklayer?" The second bricklayer says, "I'm building a university. I'm contributing to the education of our youth. I'm changing the world." The difference between the two is both of them were competent. One was really confident in what they were doing because they had a vision. Not only were they trained and developed, but they had a vision and they were well connected. So someone was able to pass a vision to them. So being connected is everything. It actually speaks to our level of performance and how this is so amazing to me. And this is what I absolutely love about the Hope Squad, is that when the Hope Squad casts vision, and then the Hope Squad teaches. And so not only are we building a community and we're connecting and we have relationship, but we also have something that we're all going after and we're all moving in the same direction. And it speaks to everyone involved. Listen to this. Children with close ties to friends, family, and community groups are likely to have a stronger sense of security and sense of belonging. And also some of the research done by Dr. Ginsberg is that children are more likely to have strong values and are less likely to seek out alternative destructive behaviors when they're connected to people. Let me share something else with you that's a weird fact, but it's the truth. Prison is enough punishment for some people. And as people commit crimes, they go to jail, they go to punishment. But even in prison, if you do something wrong, another form of punishment is solitary confinement. And inmates go to solitary confinement as a form of punishment to showcase the value of being connected in community. Even within a prison system, community still exists. And when you're pulled away from that community, that's not something to be highlighted. That's something to say, hey, we need to look around here and we need to get connected. Resilient people, those that carry that attribute, are very well connected so that they can bounce their perspectives off of each other. All right. And it also leads into character, and character is associated with our values. And I want to do another exercise with you as it pertains to values. And this is another thing that I love about the Hope Squad, because the Hope Squad challenges us to collaborate with others, get in our communities, collaborate with the people that may be hurting, or just to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. But also we learn to empathize. That's a huge word. I don't have the time to teach you that. I wish I had the time. I don't have the time to teach you, but we have to empathize, and we also learn how to be patient. be patient with ourselves as we're learning and we're developing, and also be patient with others as they go through their lives and their situations. And the reality of the matter is, individuals with character enjoy a stronger sense of self-worth and confidence. Do you see how it's all tying together? So I can be confident, confident, and I can have the character that helps me to get where I need to go as long as I'm connected. All of this works together. We need each other. Resilience is not just something I do, but they're components that come together and they work and they highlight each other and they reinforce each other so that I can stand. And once I stand, if I get hit and I fall back, I learn I can stand and I can recover, because when I fall back, there's a community of people that are going to catch me. If there's a lapse in my integrity, there's someone that's going to say, hey, brother, I know you're used to making this bad move, but you're greater than that. Let me help you. Let's go get some help together. I'm worried about you. Let's go get some help together. And that community helps me to stand. So I'm not standing like I am because it's just me. I'm standing like I am because I'm connected and I have character around. Look, let's look at this. Next exercise is this. I want to be very clear here. We want to build this thing out the right way. So in front of you, I have sample values, and I want each of you to identify 5. You may find some values on here that are contrary to what you would do, but there are thousands of other values. How about you identify 5? I give you about 30 seconds to identify 5 values that you hold dear to your heart, and just identify those 5. Write them down or put them in your mind. And as you're doing that, I want to share this quote from Singay, a body of work that was produced in 2005. Singay said, if people don't have their own vision, all they can do is sign up for someone else's. If people don't have their own vision, all they can do is sign up for someone else's. Dr. Hudnall, I'm grateful for the vision you have and those that are involved in leadership at the Hope Squad, the vision that you've cast, and you were able to give people an opportunity, a great opportunity to jump into the vision of the Hope Squad. Because there are a lot of students, kids that don't have a vision for themselves yet, but they can jump into this vision and adopt this vision for themselves, and it's helping them. Once you have those 5 values, let's move to the next slide. I'm excited about this. I'm trying to keep myself composed because when it talks about this right here, I'm most passionate. Now that you have your 5 values, let's slim it down to 3. What are your top 3? I know those 5 were difficult, but what are your top 3 values? What are the top 3 values you hold dear to your heart? And the reason I'm asking this is because when we talk about values-based decision-making, this is about using our values to dictate how we move and maneuver in life. This is a deep statement. When I say, I'm hitting on something really good. I know it already. When you make value-based decisions, you're not making decisions based on external things. There's the external of life, the money, the notoriety, the fame, being recognized, being promoted, all of that stuff goes and it comes and it goes. And if we base our lives on those decisions alone, we're going to be up and down and round and round. And it's too much. But when we make value-based decisions, what we find is we're more stable. We're more secure in ourselves. And we don't find ourselves wavering. We're less likely to get knocked off course. CDC is there, and it's not there because I'm talking about the disease, the Center for Disease. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a concept that I teach my children. My wife, Dr. Paige Carol Woods, and myself, we teach our children. And the idea is choices, decisions, consequences, value-based decisions. We do what's right because it's right. I teach my children, we do what's right because it's right. And there are going to be choices laid out for you in life, but you're going to have to make a decision. And as you make a decision, there's going to be a consequence. All consequences are not bad. I go to work, I work my schedule, I do what I'm supposed to do. The consequence is I get a paycheck. That's a great consequence. If I go out and start drinking and driving and I hit someone or have an accident while I'm under the influence, there's a consequence. That's a negative. But I want you to be very clear that the consequences come. And immediately after that consequence is over, we go back to choices. We make nearly 30 to 35,000 choices a day, decisions a day. A, are your decisions being made based on your values or the external? Another great value is to start saying no. People that work in this profession, that serve people on a regular basis, tend to find themselves in a position where they are always helping. I want to serve and work with the marginalized population, or we work with the population that they experience a lot of different insecurities or disorders or struggles or mental struggles or whatever it may be that you want to call it and identify it. We tend to just go overboard. So I want to just help over here. I want to help over here. And one of the values is being able to say no. See, the thing about being resilient is not just the fact that I'm competent, I can be connected and I have community, but I can also say no so that I can reserve some of what I have left for me. I was saying I did an interview on a radio station in North Carolina, and they highlighted one of the statements that I made. And as a person that's in a relationship with my wife, I challenged my wife and my wife challenged me, and we make this statement to each other: don't go give 100% of yourself everywhere else and then bring home your sloppy seconds. Leave some in a tank for me. Leave some in a tank for me. And what that means is don't give everything you have away and you don't have anything for you. I told you the work that I'm doing based on these 7 interrelated components is around self-care. It's around self-help. And it's about taking time to care for myself, because too many of us in this profession, we have this desire to feed and serve and go and give and give and give, but we're giving on empty. And when we give on empty from an ethical perspective, that's when we have a lapse in our integrity. That's when we drop the ball. That's when we, get out of place. But if we can stop sometimes and say, I need to invest in me right now. I know there's a lot of need out there, but I have to invest in me so I can be at my best to invest in everyone else. I know my students right now, if you understand what I'm talking about, let me get a what. You can throw it in the chat. Let me get a what. Put it in the chat. If you understand what I'm saying here, this is a very strong component when it comes to resiliency. The next point I want to bring up is contribution. When we know that our contribution is appreciated and valued, we understand and we start to take in this mindset that I bring value to the equation and I'm important. Can I pause and parenthetically insert into this part of the talk right here? Let me just pause and stop and say, thank you. Genuinely, authentically, thank you. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you that your teachers. Thank you for teaching us students. Thank you first responders. Thank you, Dr. Hudnall. Thank you, Hope Squad. Thank you for the nonprofit agencies that are on the call that are looking to serve the community. Thank you for the Thank you for the janitors that are on here. Thank you for those that are sanitation workers. Thank you for the doctors and the physicians. Thank you for the police officers. Look, thank you, students that are coming every day. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. If you would, please put in the chat. Just let someone know that you appreciate them and just say thank you really quick. I don't think we do this enough. Sometimes we live our lives and we give, but no one says thank you. Abby, thank you for hosting this. Thank you so much for doing all of the work that you do. Professors, school administrators, government officials, thank you so much. I may not agree with everything, but thank you so very much. Where does this come from, Nate? Where you get to the place where you say, thank you so much. This is called the attitude of gratitude. When you're at a place where you're truly grateful for what's happened in your life, what happens is you exude that and you want to say, thank you so much. Look, I appreciate the work that you do. I appreciate the things you've done in my life. Thank you so much for being there for me, for supporting me, for catching me when I fell back, for being my accountability partner when I was going astray. Thank you for keeping me in line. Thank you for encouraging me when I was discouraged. Thank you for being around to make sure my children are getting what they're getting. Thank you. Look, all of us have someone to thank you. Say thank you to. Thank you. And I'm saying that from an authentic place. I appreciate you. We need you. Your contribution matters. It matters. You want to get somebody like me emotional? We could spend another 5 minutes here. You'll see me crying, saying thank you. Everything. We need your creativity. We need your wisdom. We need that innovative heart you have. We need that energy. We need that drive. We need that focus, that logic mindset that you have. We need that. Thank you for your contribution. And when people know that they're valued, they contribute more. Coping. I'm not going to spend too much time right here except to say this. We need to learn and teach both stress reduction skills and social skills for coping every day. One of my favorite, and I highlighted it for you just a minute ago, is practice gratitude, attitude of gratitude. Another thing you can do is healthy eating, getting plenty of sleep, getting out and stretching. We tend to think that self-care has to be something that's huge and is big and monumental. It's not that. It's just something that we do consistently on a regular basis so that we can maintain our sanity. It's not a normal thing. I don't like the term normal. It's not that. It is being able to prepare myself. One of my mentors and one of the great guys I look up to name is Eric Bolzen. He's the president of a company called Game Changers, Inc. And he keynotes all over the world on a regular basis. And he always talks about when you play a sport, or if you're in school, you see your report card, which comes out, or you see in sports, the scoreboard, those are all lagging reports. You do something, you get graded. You do something, you get graded. It's lagging. It's always going to be behind you based on what you do. The real question is, what are the proactive things we're doing so we're less reactive? Right here, I'm showing you 50 things that kids do, or that we should be encouraging kids to do as proactive steps. So they're not being reactive, they're getting ahead of it. And if they can get ahead of it, they maintain their resilience. And this is a part of it, is coping. Let me move a little bit further. Control. Now, this is my favorite, because when you look at this image, what you see is a kitten standing in front of a puddle, and in the puddle, you see a reflection of a tiger. Let me read what's on the slide. It says, when we realize that we have control over our decisions and actions, we are more likely to know how to make choices in a way that will allow us better odds of adjusting to life's challenges. If you don't have control over anything, what you do have control over is your perspective. And the next thing you have control over, or you gain more control over as you get older, is who you allow to speak to you to influence your perspective. That's why community is important, but not just any community, a healthy community, balanced community. It all ties in, it's interwoven into helping us to stand. From a human services perspective, what we teach is the Chinese symbol for crisis has two different meanings. One symbol, two meanings. And the symbol represents, you can choose based on how the person looks at the situation, the crisis event. They will either see it as a danger, or they will see it as an opportunity. Let me give you an example. You fail a test. You can go and start to go and move down the rabbit hole of negative self-talk, or you can mess something up as a leader and you drop the ball. And you can beat yourself down and say you're worthless, or that you quit, or you're not going to try anything ever again. You're not going to move forward. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I always messed it. That's danger. That's danger based on how you're coping. Or you can look at it and say, I dropped the ball. I messed up. I didn't approach this appropriately. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a tutor. I failed the test. I'm going to get a tutor. I'm going to go to some study classes. I'm going to find out. I'm asking my teacher, what is it that I need to do so that I do better the next time? I'm going to figure out some steps to take. I'm going to get a mentor. I'm going to get a coach, someone that can walk me through the process. If I failed or dropped the ball, I'm going to talk to my superiors and see what plans do they have as far as development and teaching, so that I can get a better understanding, so I can function appropriately. How we address this area will determine how we operate over here. many of us are in leadership roles. And I think it's very important to understand that the quality time we invest in our people, our support team, the people we serve, however you want to say it, the followers of your organization, whoever you're leading, it matters. How are you investing in them? Are you developing them so that they can be resilient? Or every time you speak to them, is it because they did something wrong? Because that's not helping their mental capacity. This is the research that I'm doing. We all play a part in this idea of being resilient. We can be resilient as a nation, as a school, as an organization. You can also be resilient as a person. And the little nuances, the things that we overlook that happen to us as an individual, it still happens on a larger scale. It's just now more people are walking around defeated. What are your words of affirmation that you share with yourself? These are things you can control. You can choose to encourage yourself. What are your words of affirmation? Every day I wake up, I say, I'm intelligent, I'm wise. I am great. I am awesome. I don't need anyone else to tell me I'm awesome and I'm great. I am great. I am awesome. I believe this about myself because I use words of affirmation. When I speak to my students, I let them know that they are great. They are valued. When I speak to my bosses, I appreciate your leadership. I appreciate it. And when I don't get it, I talk to them about it. There's something we can control here, and that's our perspective. Thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions or anything, my book is available on Amazon.com. If you would like to order in bulk or whatnot, please reach out to me. Dr. Hudnall, thank you so much for your time and this opportunity to speak. And I want to pause really quick and ask, are there any questions?
Feel free to drop any questions in the chat. We also have a Q&A feature, so whatever works for you. I did receive a question earlier about how we can find the number sheet that you had. Someone wanted to use it in their class.
So that is something that I designed. If you send me an email, I can get that to you. That's a part of the curriculum in my organization.
We have a question from Abby, and she said, what incident or precipitating event led you down this path of research?
All right, so Abby, thank you. Great question. What precipitating event? Precipitating event is the start of a crisis. So where did it kickstart before the person decided to do either the danger or the opportunity? So what is the part? The thing that led me to this place, to where I started down here, was everything around. I started to experience burnout with an organization that I was with, and I was asking around for help, and there was no one knew what to do. No one knew what to do, how to help. And I'm saying, like, man, I really love what I do, but I'm so tired. And when you get tired, everyone knows this. Have you ever been so hot and tired that you start snapping at people? Get away from me. Stop. It's too hot. Leave me alone. And I started to break down. And as I started to break down, I realized that I wasn't the only one breaking down. There were people all around me that were breaking down. And I said, this has to change. So we ended up creating an anonymous group for leaders within our organization, just to support each other, because we weren't getting it from our leadership group. And as I started to go down this journey and work on my doctorate in strategic organizational leadership, I realized that there are gaps that are being left wide open. And as I started to teach in human services, I realized it's more and more in human services because we see the fallout. So many people are dropping out of the role or out of their position or their title because there's such a great need. And if they don't take care of themselves, then they experience lapse in their integrity, and they do things that are unethical. And so to prevent that, I want to get ahead of it. So that's what led me down this journey.
We have another question. It's a little vague, but how did you get the way you are today, Nate?
Wow. Yeah, that's vague. I would have to put that on my mom. My mom is a resilient woman, single family home. And so she raised myself and my sisters, and then went and adopted more children and raised them. And so I was able to get a lot of these practices without even knowing I was getting them by the way that my mom was leading and influencing my life. And then I was able to plug into some mentors, and I can name a lot of them: Dr. Hawkins, Lucas Rux, Eric Bowles, Dr. Greg Hudnall. Like, this is giving me such great advice already, and encouraged me in some of the things that I was doing as it pertains to teaching and human services. And so I appreciate leadership, and I appreciate those in the leadership role that can help. Anyone else?
We have one asking, how do you help those distraught kids to see a different perspective or a better perspective? And how do you get them to express their positive affirmations?
Oh, wow. So I think it happens in a couple of ways. And so first, I would just challenge you to be patient in the process, because it's not something that happens overnight. But first, start talking positive to them. Identify, build some values in whatever program you're working with them. So when you correct them, go back to your values. When you reward them, go back to your values. And then you use those values as affirmation statements. And then you add everything that you do when you communicate with them, make it value-based. Speak to the values. And as you do that, what happens is they'll start to adopt these values themselves, and they'll start to live it out. And it happens subconsciously. They start to live it out. I remember when I stopped using profanity. I'm gonna go ahead and go there. When I stopped using profanity, it was because I ended up getting in touch with someone who used different words to challenge themselves to leave profanity alone. And as they started to increase their vocabulary, they realized their profanity stopped, and they did it without even thinking about it. But they put the effort toward the increase in their information around learning new words. And I would just challenge you to do the same thing as you get with those students. Give them some affirmation statements. Make that a part of your interaction. When you start and when you leave, do the affirmation statements. You don't have to do anything crazy. Just do one or two, and then just start living this thing out and build some values. Truly build values, and you will see things change once you have values in place.
Another, what are the goals of your Hope Squad at the college level?
Wow, you want to peek behind the curtain. You want to get back there. So so we just want to solidify just having a club where the club becomes a hub for the rest of the community. So we want, out of our college, we want to influence the elementary school, middle schools, and high schools so that they plug in. And then it also becomes a funnel to feed into the college. So then we don't have to recruit for college, but as seniors are graduating and coming into the college, they already have the Hope Squad mindset. And then furthermore, our hope is to reduce the stigma and help people to become fully aware of what suicide is and suicide prevention, and knowing that they can get help and just properly training. We want our students to be competent enough to have a conversation and then direct them to the resources. That's QPR at its finest.
What are your top three? So you presented 7 components. What are your top 3 from today's exercise?
Woo, competence, coping, competence, coping, and I would just have to say contribution. Competence, coping, and contribution. It's hard because connection is everything to me. So I kind of struggle. If you want the core of who I am, if you look at all of it as one, it makes life easier. If you think of it as an orange, You know, some of the orange peels on the inside are smaller and some are greater. Have you ever peeled an orange and you found one of the panels within an orange or a slice that was smaller? I look at these 7 components as an orange, and all of them is just a slice of the one fruit. I just eat the fruit.
We have a question from, it sounds like there's a Hope Squad watching. What color is your toothbrush?
Oh, wow. I just changed to a red and white toothbrush. That's why.
Awesome. Another more serious question. Someone plans on buying your book, but they want to know what other books have helped you in your journey.
Ooh, if you look behind me, I read books on a regular basis. One great book is, from a leadership perspective, 1 Minute Manager is a great book, and I think that it would help teachers as well, and anyone that's working with any Hope Squad. It's called the 1 Minute Manager. It's a Ken Blanchard book. It's under the Blanchard Association. Another book is Gung Ho, and that's a book that I read when I was the director of training for a large organization. And the book Gung Ho, there again, it's a Blanchard book. Another great book, it's sort of a textbook, but it's called Listening: The Forgotten Skill. I understand. And I think that it's a great thing for us to kind of consider, is continue to read books. Another great book that I'm reading in my doctoral program is called The Fifth Discipline. Woo! Powerful. The Fifth Discipline. My goodness. You want to find yourself and you want to challenge yourself to become more aware and be better. The Fifth Discipline is a fantastic book. I have it right behind me. And then the number 1 book I would challenge you to read is Developing Others Through Service, Starting with Me. Read
and
the
we've
book.
had a few people ask if you could drop your contact information in the chat, Nate,
Yes.
or bring that slide back up, whatever works for you.
Okay, I don't mind sharing again. I will share my.
And while you're going through, if I can, perfect timing. So we've got another question here in the chat. When it comes to the day-to-day decisions, what do you feel are the best ways to keep making choices that benefit yourself as opposed to the instant gratification choices?
Oh, that's a great question. I love that question. The one thing I would say is just identify your values. It goes right back to the content, is identify your values and you make your decisions based on where you want to go. If I want to live a healthy lifestyle, and no disrespect to those that are not, if I really want to live a healthy lifestyle, what I do is I look at what it requires for me. So what it requires for me, every morning when I wake up, I need to put in 30 minutes to 45 minutes working out. I also know that I can't go to Krispy Kreme donuts every weekend and eat a dozen of donuts. I know that they're good. I know that it's heavenly. And I know that it means something to you. Krispy Kreme donuts. But I can't do that because my value says me being as healthy as I can to live a healthy lifestyle so that I can serve at the greatest capacity that I can. And if that's one of my values, I can't do that every day. I may go get Krispy Kreme or I may go get some donuts once a month, treat myself. But that's no longer a part of what I do every day. Any other questions? I hope that helps. Value-based decisions.
Yeah, that was great. And we've got a few more. What school do you work at, and how does your family make you better?
Oh, don't get me started there. You want to see me cry, don't you? You're trying to make me cry. Are you trying to make me cry? So I work at Grace Harbor College in Aberdeen, Washington. Great college, great staff, great support. Kudos to the school, GHC. but my family's my everything. And so everything I do for them. If you read my book, you will realize in my book, I was on a journey where I was taking care of my family and I'm working to provide for my family. And I lost my way. And I ended up working to provide for my notoriety so I could be known and well known and appreciated. And I started to disregard my family. I started to disregard my responsibilities. Instead of bragging on my team, I started bragging on myself. I started bragging on my family. I started bragging on myself. And I lost my way. And I had a community of people that said, hey man, you're phenomenal, but I think you're being sidetracked. And that's when I really started to engage in value-based decision making. And my family's the top of my priority list. Because they're the top of my priority list, I consult with them on everything. Many times when I travel, I take my sons with me so that so I never forget what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Sorry, go ahead. I get passionate. You almost brought some tears out of me. I love my family.
A question, is there a reason for the poppy on your lapel?
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep it fly. Just keeping it fly. I did it for you. I did it for you, the Hope Squad. I did it for you.
Another one, what sports did you play and what school, and how do sports help you?
Oh, great question. So let me just do shameless plug. My wife started what is called the Fireside Chats, where she speaks to and encourages about 4,000 college student athletes a month. We touch about 4,000 a month. And through that, we've been able to, on the East Coast, West Coast, and we mentor a lot of athletes, but I boxed when I was in high school. I was a boxer and I ran track and played football. And I played basketball, but track and boxing was really my thing. Those are the things that I love the most. They help you because my son, for instance, I dropped my son off this morning at school at 8 o'clock to be in class, and he will not come home. We won't pick him up until 5:30. And he has a good 45 minutes in between when school lets out and for him to go to football practice. And in between that time, he's learning time management and the value of not wasting time. And if there's anything that I learned in playing sports is that you don't have the luxury to waste time, because you have homework, you have to practice, you still have to learn whatever the skill is that you're doing, and you're performing because you didn't wake up with it, but you're progressing and you're learning it. And so you learn time management. In addition to that, I learned teamwork and the value of teamwork and working together with others, because for the rest of your life, whether you go pro or you don't, you can be a tennis player, you will still have a team. You will still have a team. You don't do it on your own.
Wonderful. I think you got all the questions answered. If anybody has any other ones, feel free to send them. Oh, and as I said, we got one in the chat. Perfect timing. Do you think when you're teaching on Zoom that your kids pick up what you're talking about and how it shapes them?
I do. I think it resonates with them. Actually, how about you answer that question, Mackenzie? I know that was a Mackenzie question. Is it Mackenzie? It was a Mackenzie question. I appreciate that. I know Abby might have said something. I just know my students just that well. I wish I could see, but I hope. I appreciate my students. I do hope that I don't only come with a level of energy and passion that inspires you, but my hope and desire and what I work toward every day in meeting with my superiors is that I'm being coached and developed so that I can be a better version of a professor for my students. At the end of the day, this passion is great and it's good, but if you're incompetent, passion means nothing. It means nothing if you don't know how to do what you do. Go all in. Be passionate and competent. Know your craft. And I would just challenge all of you to do that. All right, Abby.
And I think that seems like all the questions. Oh, this will be the last question. First of all, Many people in the chat are just saying how much they appreciate you. So practicing one of your skills, we're so thankful to have you here and have you speak to our audience for Hope Squad, and everybody that's here just taking the time to learn a little bit more about yourself and how you can affect others. It's really great. The last question we have is, what is one attribute that is key in helping others?
Empathy. That's the one word and you can see it last year as a country, last year in organizations and people, as we see this great tension building within our nation. The one thing I see that we're lacking is empathy. And if I can get 2 minutes, Abby, to just kind of explain empathy for a second. Empathy is not, if Abby is hurt, she loses a loved one and she says, Nate, I'm hurt. Empathy is not me saying, Abby, I know exactly what you feel, because that's not true. I don't know what Abby is feeling. However, I do know what it's like to be hurt. And because I've lost someone in my life, I know what that pain feels like. So because I've identified with hurt already, when she says, Nate, I'm hurt, I don't need her hurt in order to say, man, what did you feel like when you was hurt, Nate? I just reflect on what I felt like when I was hurt and how it was hard for me and it was heavy for me. And because I know that, I can be a community for her, reconnected. And when she says I'm hurt, then I say, Abby, what is it that you need? How can I serve you? How can I serve your family? I'll be here. You know what? I'm going to just shut my mouth and you tell me what you need. You see what I'm saying? And empathy is just saying, I don't know your exact pain, but I can relate to it in some form, whether it's directly or indirectly. And I use that to engage and lean in to support her, not to prove my pain is different from hers or mine's better or worse off than hers, but to engage into her and say, hey, sis, I got you. What do you need? And then shut my mouth and just listen. Hopefully that was beneficial and it helped you.
I think we can all agree that this whole webinar was extremely beneficial. This was amazing, Nate, and I wanted to thank everybody again for attending. If you are a Hope Squad advisor, this webinar will be available in our advisor portal. If you are not, I dropped my email in the chat earlier, but I'll do it again now. Feel free to send me an email asking for a copy of the webinar. Share it with whoever you want, and our webinars happen every month. They'll stop over the summer, but they're always free. So feel free to invite anybody that you'd like. And thank you so much, Nate. It was an amazing, amazing webinar. And we're so grateful to have you as part of our Hope Squad family.
Truly a pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
Nate, thank you so much. That was excellent.
Kathy, I appreciate you. All right. Take care.
Yep. Everyone have a great day.